If you have ever wondered what goes into maintaining the very roofs over our head, or are curious about how a family run business can thrive in a competitive market, then this episode is for you. Today, we're exploring the rooftop, literally and figuratively, with a special guest who has spent over 2 decades in the roofing industry and is committed to restoring its integrity. We are joined by Lucas Satterfield, the founder of LNB Enterprises, New Mexico's roof specialist. Lucas started working in the roofing industry with his grandfather and father, and has since built his own company from the ground up. Welcome back to another episode of the Happiness on Tap podcast, where we bring you inspiring stories and valuable insights from dynamic industry leaders who are making a difference. I'm Leanne Herron, certified life and health coach, owner of Finding Resilience with Leanne, and the creator and host of this podcast. Thank you for joining us for Restoring Integrity in Roofing, a conversation with Lucas Satterfield. Thank you so much for joining me, Lucas. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am doing great.
Awesome.
Ever since we had the pleasure of having your team install a roof on our house, I've been really excited for this conversation.
Cool. Thank you. Me too.
Lucas has been in the roofing industry for 21 years. He started working with his grandfather and father and started his own business in October of 2021. LNB Enterprises specializes in the IB Roof System PVC membrane and offers statewide roofing services. New Mexico's roofing specialist, re-roofs and new roofs. Several of his employees have been with them for over 10 years. They are a family-run company. His wife helps with the marketing, and his sister-in-law is their office manager. Lucas strongly believes in being upfront and honest with his customers. LNB Enterprises will put integrity back in roofing in New Mexico. So, Lucas, let's start it off. Can you tell us a little about your journey in the roofing industry? How did it all begin for you?
Well, it started out when I was in high school, and we would work summers, spring breaks, fall breaks. We would just help out and work. My grandfather and father had the company was smaller at the time. And so my older brother and I would just come into work and help and work all summer long. And just that's where the love of roofing started. It was an experience where we got to travel and work outside and the camaraderie with working with guys up on the roof, and where you can listen to music and joke and play, but you're still getting something done. I'm a big fan of when you're done, you can turn around, you can look at a roof, and this is what we accomplished, and it's pretty awesome for me.
I can understand that. My son from birth, wanted to be his dad, and my ex-husband was a general contractor. So he did a lot of roofing and, everything else under the sun. Uh, but I remember my son being about 4 years old the first time I found out he was up on the roof
Wow.
and helping, and he could carry 2x4s, and he'd
Awesome.
bring nails and carry the nail gun, and I used to just like panic, but I'm like, you know what, he's with his dad, he's
Hmm.
learning, and he loved it. Like, he truly loved every part of it, and so I get that. I can see how that was something really special for you.
Yeah.
And again, your guys were great. I just want to say it again. They were uh, courteous and friendly, and I was still home and still able to work. It wasn't crazy noisy. They'd check up on me. They were very polite, and I really appreciated how quickly they were in and out, how well they cleaned up. And just, it wasn't what I expected. I expected noise and, just, and maybe it was because of the difference in our roof, because it wasn't
Hmm.
like you were taking off gravel and tar and all that kind of stuff. But but it was very pleasant. Your guys were awesome.
Well, thank you. I'm very lucky to have the guys I have working with me. We've been doing this a long time together, and I always tell people the key to success is repetition. And when we do the same thing every day for this many years, that's how we became so good at it, and how we can be so quick at it and efficient at it. And another thing we push very heavily is customer service and involving the customer and letting you know, hey, we're here. Hey, we're going to lunch. Hey, we're taking off. And just the little things, when you do all the little things, it adds up. And that's what we strive to do every day. Communication is huge with us.
Yeah. And they were great. They'd come in and they'd look up and make sure that there weren't screws coming
Mhm.
through. Um, yeah, they were great. I always knew kind of where they were and what was going on, and it was awesome from a customer perspective.
Awesome.
So what motivated you to start your own company after you'd been with your dad for so long?
So my grandpa had retired in the end of 2018, and then my dad had transitioned from the company grandpa started to his own company and starting in 2019. And sometimes it's just not as easy working with family. And so it just came to a point where it was just best for me to branch off and start my own. I had 20, at that point, 20 or almost 20 years of experience installing it, servicing it, maintaining it. And I had been running my father's company for 3 years at that point, and having conversations with my grandpa. Him and I sat down. It's like, there's no reason I can't do this on my own. And so I just made the decision and the leap of faith and jumped in, and here we are.
That's
So yeah, pretty
awesome.
excited. Yeah.
That's awesome. It's a lot of work to have your own business. It's
Oh yeah.
at least you got the experience of running his business for 3 years and really seeing the full picture of being a business owner.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I was his general manager. We would still communicate every day and talk every day, my father and I. So he was still involved in the company, but big picture things, him and I would talk. But the most day to day, that what we're doing, how's it go, and stuff like that was something I was able to run for him. And so I knew I was ready.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about, your crew, your team, and how you've had most of them with you for over a
hmm
decade. How, and you kind of touched on this, but how do you foster such loyalty within that team?
We one of the things that's I think sets us apart is they've seen me grow as long as and I've seen them grow. So with a lot of them, when they came in, I was either still roofing, like the actual day to day putting on the roofs, or had transitioned to where I was running service and tracking down, leaks, issues, if people wanted to add a skylight, move a skylight, like service work. And then they've also seen me grow into sales. So a lot of the guys, the core of my guys who've been with me, one 14 years, one 13 years, one 11 years, have seen me go through it. So it's not when I hire somebody, for example, like a new person, I know exactly what they're doing. I know exactly how long it should take because I have done it for over 21 years. So the core of my guys have been there in the trenches with me. So it's not I had a new guy once tell me, I've never seen a boss or an owner on a roof with pouches on. Because I'm like, well, if we have to get it done, I have to be here to help you get it done because I'm another body. I'm not just somebody who knows how to do it, or you will just say, hey, go get this done and not know what's expected. And so we've been in the trenches together. And I think a lot of that has to do with why they're so loyal to me. And I take care of them and I treat them right. And I can't do any of this. I could sell a million roofs and buy all the product to put it on. But if I don't have the great guys to put it on, none of it matters. So it's a symbiotic relationship where I bring them work, they bring me amazing work ethic. They come to work, they laugh. I have so many customers like they're up there laughing and joking and singing and they're just having a good time. And it's just because they love coming to work. And I try to make sure that they're happy, providing the right equipment, the right tools, the right methods to put the stuff on. And because I'm a big believer, and if we make their day a little easier, then they're going to get jobs done faster, happier. It's like the seven dwarfs. They're singing and having fun and working in that mine, and that's how I like my guys. We try to put them in a good situations where they can thrive. And if they're thriving, I'm thriving, the company's thriving. And so we're another thing is how much we care. I care about our customers, and then they also care. It's hard to find employees that also care about what they're doing. So many people are just there for a paycheck. And so we kind of try to weed through that. And whenever I get new guys, I talk to the old ones and I'm like, all right, 90 days, let's see how they're going to do, if they're LNB quality or not, because, they got to be courteous to customers, courteous with each other. And so it's just, we have each other's back. There's a lot of, again, open communication, not only with customers, but with my guys.
Yeah,
So I'm very lucky.
I can definitely attest to that. There was many times I could hear them up there just, cracking jokes, talking to each
Yeah.
other, but they were working and they
Hmm.
were happy to be there. And there were some warm days, and I'm sure you guys have weather
Hmm.
and everything else you have to work around. And
Hmm.
um, just being in a place where you look forward to going to work every day because you're working with a good crew makes all the
Hmm.
difference in the world from an employee perspective.
A lot of us have had that, where we worked somewhere where it's like, who am I working with this shift? And depending on who you're working with that shift, you're like, I'm going to have an amazing day, or I don't know how my day is going to go, or, oh, this person's so negative, it's going to be a long day. So when
Hmm.
you have this core of guys that's just been together and it's laughing and it's joking, every day is a good day.
Yeah, that's amazing. That truly is amazing. And, my husband and I talk about that. Um, Being in an environment where you're surrounded by negativity is really tough to even want to go into work.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and that was a big chunk of why I got out of the legal field and went into work for myself. Was I had been doing it for so many years, and I'd had great jobs that I loved and looked forward to go to, and I had jobs that I absolutely dreaded.
Hmm.
So, and that, when you're happy, you come home happy,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
um, and it impacts your whole life. So, it's
Work is your escape. You're with the people you work with so much out of your time. Especially with my guys, they work normally 10 to 12-hour days depending on the season we're in and the sunlight. So you're with them a lot of the time during the week. And so if you're not wanting to go to work, you're miserable, you don't want to work with someone, or you're just not happy, it affects a lot because you're away from home for such a giant chunk of a week that these are you have to be happy. You have to like what you do. Because if not, we only get one trip around this world and you have to enjoy it. Because and I tell guys all the time, like, if you're not happy doing this, I have so many friends in other trades and fields and everything that I can find you somebody if you want to try something different. So,
that's awesome.
yeah.
That's awesome. So let's talk about, it's definitely a family affair from your wife in marketing, your sister-in-law. How is working with family, how has it contributed to your success of your business?
Um, a lot of where I'm lucky working with my wife and my sister-in-law is I have the availability to it's so I'm able to delegate things. I wouldn't necessarily say I have a micromanaging thing. I know I have the best chance. I know I've been doing this so long on my own. Even like being part of working for my dad and my grandpa, I would say, I'll take care of it. I'll take care of it. I'll take care of it. And so it took me a long time to realize I can have somebody else um, do some stuff. So was speaking with the owner of IB Roof Systems when I went out to visit him in Texas, and we were talking about work and what I do and stress levels because he runs a giant organization, membrane manufacturer, and so I he's like, what do you do? And he's like, where can we find people to help you? Because he had to get used to that too, of like not necessarily letting go, but trusting that you don't have to be the one to do it yourself. Because right now I do all the sales, I manage the guys, I was doing the advertisement, I was doing a lot of the office work, and so a lot of it was I'm at a point where I can bring on an office person. And then I taught her how to do payroll, invoicing, all that kind of stuff. And then one of the things I was like, okay, if I could find marketing. So my wife, we joke, she has three jobs. And so working for me is the third job. And she's also a realtor and she's a dog groomer. So it's like, can you handle helping with the marketing, helping schedule, with setting up home shows, help setting up the stuff we do in magazines, trying to bring more magazines. And so it's nice knowing that I can just say, hey, are we set up for this? And it's like a yes. I don't have to sit there and stress it. So it's nice knowing that I have this good little team that's here to help and I don't have to do it all on my own. It's freed up a lot of time and a lot of stress. And then,
Absolutely.
and then we try to keep work out of it when we're home. Sometimes it'll be a quick question. Hey, did you take care of this? Because I'll get an email or, hey, did you, see this email? But other than that, we try to leave it at the office the best we can, which, is difficult because it's a we're a smaller company that does a lot, but sometimes it's just, leave the work at the office.
And so
So,
I'm assuming you actually have a business where you have like a warehouse that
mhm,
you keep all your products
yeah,
and that's where the office is. So it's
yeah,
not like you're working out of your house, which
no,
is great.
yeah. We have a pretty good size building. It's a building and a warehouse. Very fortunate to have it. The materials we buy directly from the manufacturer. So we buy some stuffs here local, because love to support local. But the core of what we do, the membrane, comes directly from IB Roof Systems. So we get that by the truckload, and we stock that here. And so it's nice. We have the big warehouse, we have material inside, we can put trucks inside of it at night, so they're nice and secure. So we have the offices. I made a little break room because we are a family owned business. I have a break room with the TV. So when the kids have to come to work with mom or dad, or we have to come take care of something on a Saturday or Sunday, it's like, hey, go hang out on the couch and relax and give me an hour and I can get some stuff done and then we'll go hang out. So yeah, we're very lucky.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. And I know as a business owner myself, it's hard to give up control of things or hard to
Hmm.
ask for help, and it's been something I've had to develop over time.
Hmm.
Um, but I have developed such a wonderful core group of co-collaborators,
Awesome.
referral partners, and like-minded friends that I can reach out at any time, shoot them a text and say, hey, I have this idea. Do you have a minute to chat? Let me shoot it past you, get some feedback. Um, and it has just really grown and bloomed my business.
Yeah,
Um, as well as we share information like, oh, I took this class, I learned how to do this. Let me show you how to do it. Um, and
that's
so
so
that's
cool.
been really helpful as well. So I think it's great that you're able to do that with your wife and keep it in the family.
And I've been fortunate been doing this for so long and I have so many great friends in various industries and I will call and say, I need advice. And sometimes it's life advice or sometimes it's work advice. Hey, have you run into this problem? Hey, what do you think? And I'm able to call my grandpa who's been in business since the 60s. And some of his tactics are a little outdated, but I can still, bounce ideas and stuff off him. Or what do you think? Because he's a great resource. But I have friends who own other companies, and like you, I can call and say, hey, what do you think? Hey, I'm thinking about doing this. Or hey, what do you think? And we can just ask ideas and it's like you guys are all successful, you've made created successful businesses, and so what do you think? And at the end of the day I got to mold all these thoughts and opinions and I come up with what I think is best for myself and the company. But I'm very fortunate that I have a core group of people like yourself that I can call and say, this is what I'm thinking about doing, have you tried this? Even right next door, another roofing company is putting up a brand new building. They bought the lot, they're building, and I talked to the owner and I'm like, hey, what do you think about this? And he's gracious enough I have other roofing companies that I can call them and go, hey, have you ever tried this advertisement? And did it work? What didn't work? And so there's a group of even just roofers I still talk to from other companies, and we just we help each other. And so it's pretty awesome being able to lean on people and say, hey, I've never been against asking for help. If I don't know an answer, I will try to find it, whether it's online or trying to talk to somebody who's lived it. I'm 35. There's lots of life still to live here, and I will always tap into those who are older and have been around the block and have done what I'm trying to do as far as building a successful company.
And that is like number one thing I've learned as a business owner and as a coach, because that's kind of part of what I do is I save people time and
Yeah.
money and stress and energy by sharing my knowledge, my education, my experiences with them to save them time.
Hmm.
And in the first 2 years of my business, I really tapped into a lot of the local resources here for small business owners. And I'm still learning new ones.
Hmm.
I tapped into getting a SCORE mentor.
Cool.
There it's a fabulous organization of mentors, and it's a free resource to small business owners. There's another company called West, and they do a ton of education, and they have a film studio, and that's where
Cool.
I fell in love with and created a podcast. Was I took a
That's
class
awesome.
there, and they sat you at a table with three other people, and you put on headphones and you had microphones and you had to interview somebody, and I was like, this is great, I want to do
Yeah,
this.
that's so cool.
They taught you how to read off a monitor to do a commercial. I mean, just getting that experience and having somebody teach you how to do it has been so valuable.
Yeah.
And another resource that I recently tapped into is called 1 Million Cups. And
Okay.
they're a national organization that is funded through a foundation. But it's all entrepreneurs and business owners. They meet every Wednesday down in the old Albuquerque High building.
Cool.
There's a building in there called, or a business in there called Fat Pipe, which is like a collaborative workspace. But they meet every Wednesday from 9 to 10:30 in the morning. You get coffee and donuts. They'll have somebody who's a new business get up and talk about their business, and then talk about their struggles, like if they're having problems figuring out marketing, or if they're having whatever their problem may be. And then
Yeah,
you have this room full of people who are there to help you succeed.
that's awesome.
And so I've been, going to that every week. I learned something new about a new business, and I'm able to share resources like SCORE and West, and
That's
all these
awesome.
places where I got free education to help me grow my business. I've met other people where I've jumped on a Zoom with them and showed them how to fine tune their Google business page to get more business, because I've learned how to do SEO. I never even knew what SEO was,
Yeah.
so it's so valuable to have great resources within our
Yeah.
state,
Hmm.
and to be able to tap into them, as well as not operating on worrying about competition. Like there's
Hmm.
enough homes being built, there's enough
Yeah.
businesses being built. For me as
Hmm.
a coach, there are enough people on the planet who need help. We are
Hmm.
not in competition.
No, that's how it is with roofing. There's so many roofs in the city, in the state, and all over that there's no reason to get nasty or mean with it. Like I'm nice and neighborly with the roofer next door or other roofing companies in here. We talk and we, talk at home shows and hang out and stuff. And it's like there's so many roofs going on. It's like there's no reason to treat it like a competition and be so like competitive and this and that. On my guys, my goal every day is to keep them working, and so as long as they're moving, that makes me happy. Because when you start a business and then they asked me, when can we start? When can we start? When I started the company, it's like, as soon as I'm ready, I'll bring you on. And then we brought more on, and then more people come on. So it's like, these people have left what they were, and they put their trust and faith in me. So now I have to keep them busy. And so there's so many roofs in Albuquerque and surrounding areas that there's enough work out there for a lot of us. Last I heard, there's over 500 roofers in the state of New Mexico.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, so there's a lot of different people competing. And like, it's hard starting a business, like with the Google business listing, like you're talking about, like you don't know necessarily how to set that up, or how to create a website or where to go. And that's where I was fortunate. I knew I had, watched how marketing worked and how well it worked. And I knew when I started the company, I wanted this magazine, I wanted to be on this channel, and I knew it was what it was going to take to get me here. But there's not a lot of people who are lucky enough to know that. So to know there's resources in Albuquerque, a lot of people will say, well, what was your business plan? Or what did you do? Or how did this work? I'm like, I didn't do it the conventional way that a lot of people go through. So I'm very lucky and blessed to have that. But I got my education, and when I worked for my father and grandfather, I knew what worked. I knew who to talk to. I was friends, like with my guy at KRQE, we would golf together and hang out. I'd go to lunch and dinner with the magazine people because we just, you build this bond. A lot of my friends were like vendors and magazines and advertising. It's like, we're friendly. So when it's like, when I would call them and go, hey, I'm starting my own thing, right away it was, we can do this, we can do that, we can do this, let's get this going. And it's just, I've been very lucky and fortunate.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's great to know. In fact, I'm gonna, look to your lead for some things because
Yeah.
it's tough.
Oh, yeah. It's
At
very
least
tough.
you had, kind of the time with your dad and your
Hmm.
grandfather and word of mouth, and
Hmm.
people had met you on the job when you were
Hmm.
literally roofing every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but when you're a brand new business
I
like
know.
I was, that went from accounting for 20 years, legal for 13 years, to I'm a health and life coach. How do people find you so that you
Hmm.
can help them when you're this brand new business?
Oh, yeah.
Um,
I had people that they saw our commercials. They saw me in a commercial, and they would call me like, you started your own? And I'm like, yeah, like my cousin needs a roof or my mom needs a roof. And they just, for 11 years, I ran quality control and service for my father and grandfather. And so I would look at, on average, 4 to 5 houses a day. And so, you build this, but I'd still, you give every customer as much time as they want to talk, and we would have a good time. It's like, all right, on to the next one. And then we'd leave. So you build these relationships with everybody. And they happen to recognize me, and they're like, my mom needs a roof, or so and so needs a roof. And I'm very lucky to have it go the way it's been.
yeah,
Because I've seen a lot of guys be the best roofer, and they try to branch out on their own, or they don't know like the business aspect of it or the marketing aspect of it. And they were phenomenal roofers. They branched out, they tried, and then they come back, or it fizzled out because it just didn't work. And they're great roofers. The quality of work would have been amazing. It's just they didn't have the education in how to market it, how to advertise to who. And I was lucky enough to know how to market it, who my demographic is, how to hit my demographic that I'm trying to hit. And it's very important. It's not easy starting out, but I got lucky because I had that education.
yeah. And I'll mention one other thing, and I think I mentioned it to you when you came and we finished everything up. I was really happy to see a lot of my neighbors like
Yeah.
flagging down the guys, and seeing that they were taking their time with that person to talk to them. you
Hmm.
know it was good to see. I want my neighbors to utilize your service. I want them
Thank you.
to see how nice and friendly these guys were, that they weren't just like I'm here for a job, I'm not here
Yeah.
to talk to you, I don't have time for this. They took the time. You had a big enough crew, they were all
Hmm.
working, they were all, but every time I'd open the door, I'd see another neighbor, talking to
That's
somebody, and I'm like, great,
awesome.
I love it.
Exactly. There's so many people that you'll see, and like, how long will this roof take? And I'll say 3 days, 4 days. And they go, well, other people say they'll take 2 days. I'm like, they put a lot of people on a roof to try to get a roof in 2 days. I like my 4 and 5 man crews because it's a lot more manageable. Everyone knows what they're doing. When you have, 8, 9, 10, 12 guys on a roof, sometimes it's just like chaos. And so I like having my small group of core guys who've been doing this for so long because everyone knows they do this and the next are doing that, the next are doing this. And so it's a lot more relaxed than having just like you see these 12 guys running across the roof and it's like it just I don't know, stresses me out seeing it. We like our small small company the way it is.
Yeah, and they were great. Like they let me know, like we're going to be on this section of the house on this day, and
Yeah.
this section of the house on this day, and they kind of kept me, you know, okay, we're going to need to shut off the air conditioner. It's going to be down
Hmm.
for this long. They made sure
Hmm.
I was informed, and it was great.
Yeah.
It was great. Really good guys.
Awesome.
So the big thing we're going to talk here about is, your integrity, which is,
Hmm.
something very important to you. So integrity and honesty seem to really be a core value for you.
Yeah.
How do you ensure that these values are upheld in every project that you're involved in?
It starts with when I come out, we set an appointment. I come to the door, I knock on the door and introduce myself. I go up on the roof and I look at it, pictures. Then when I come down, I run the numbers and sit down. And that's where I'll go, you don't need a roof or you do need a roof. Because I believe in being upfront. Roofs, like everything else right now, are expensive. So let's say I'm a huge fan of preventative roofing. I will always push preventative roofing. And if you have the means and you're wanting to do preventative roofing, let's do it. Let's get it done before you have a problem and it gets more expensive. But a lot of people don't quite have the capital to do a full blown roof right now, normally. So if I can come and say, hey, you don't quite need a roof yet. You have 3 to 4 years. Let's get you touched up. Let's, touch up the tar, touch up the pipes, or on shingle roof, same thing, and let's get you by. This is how much it will cost you right now. Plan on it going up a little, but in 2 to 3 years, this is the investment you're going to need to make. And or you definitely have to have a roof. This is why you have to have a roof. And I show pictures on my phone or the iPad. It's like there's no way around it. You're not looking at just a tune up or just some service work. So I will tell you upfront, 100% honest, if you don't need it and we can fix it to get you by, or if you absolutely are at the point of no return and we need to do it. So many people, I'll get to a roof and 2 other roofers says, I have to have a roof. I'm like, why? I don't understand why you have to have a roof. You don't yet. We can just hold you over with some tar here, or if it's a leak repair, they're like, well, they say it's leaking. I'm like, actually, it's just stucco. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, your roof's not leaking. Your stucco's causing the leak. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, other roofers said I have to have a roof. I'm like, no, you have some time, and then I'll get my stucco guy out here. And sure enough, I'll recommend my friend for stucco, and then I'll get a call back from the customer. Roof doesn't leak anymore. I'm like, well, it wasn't your roof. So, like everything is 100% integrity. People will remember that. People will call in the 2 years later and say, hey, you know what? It's time. Or I've had instances where I was honest with somebody, and then the next week I'll get a call and it's a neighbor going, well, I think I need a roof. And I said, oh, I kind of remember your roof and I think you do too. And so I'll, take care of that roof. It's because it's like, I'm not going to chicken little the situation and the sky is falling. If you need a roof, well, this is why, let's take care of it, or you don't, and let me hold you over until you do. Because being upfront is key. There's so many roofers. Again, there's over 500 of them in New Mexico. It'll just come out here, tell you need a roof, not explaining to you why, and they take off. Or they'll come knock on your door and they'll say, I'm here to look at the roof. And then a week later, you get an email with a number, no explanation of why they were to do anything or what they're doing, just an email with a list of what it says and then a price, and that's all you're going to get from them. To me, it's like, I want to sit down with you and have a conversation, show you this is what your roof looks like, this is what your roof can look like, and why I need to do exactly what I'm doing or what's best for you.
Yeah.
I just want to be upfront. I'm a big believer in what goes around comes around, and I won't sit here and just try to scare people into getting their money. If you treat people right, that they're going to treat you right, and so we've made a very good career out of just taking care of people.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. We appreciated when you came out and took a look, and you know, we knew it was time. We knew it
Yeah,
had been a long time. This wasn't like a surprise.
No.
Um, but you were, open, honest, told us what we needed, what you could do, how, when it could be done. All
No.
that was great. Um, you know, this conversation or this part of the conversation definitely covered a couple of the other questions I was going to ask,
Sorry.
but that's okay. No, that's perfect because, it really does make a difference in somebody's life, especially
Yeah.
right now. Everything is so expensive. People
Yeah.
are barely making it from
Mhm.
paycheck to paycheck, groceries and insurance and there's just so much going on and insurance for homeowners is skyrocketing
Yeah.
because of other things that aren't even happening in our community, the
Mhm.
fires in Ruidoso and flooding and
Yep.
but they've got to make their money somewhere too, so they
Yep.
raise everybody's rates.
Mhm.
And that's even happening for like cars,
Oh yeah.
there's this major flooding and people are losing their cars, so now everybody's car insurance is
Mhm.
going up. So if you can get up there and say, okay, you're still going to have maybe 2 or 3 years, here's what your
Mhm.
investment is going to be, and people can plan for it, budget for it.
Yeah.
Maybe go to the bank and get a CD that's good for 2, 3 years.
Mhm.
Make your money work for you. Then it's not such a big hit when you got to come up with, you know,
Yeah.
$20,000 or you're going to be living with a leaky roof. So,
Exactly. It's a big investment because the roof starts with everything. Because if your roof's failing, your drywall, your paint, carpet, I mean, everything below it is going to have a problem. Not to mention mold, your health. There's a lot of scary things. And insurances, they're tightening up what they'll help homeowners with. So even if you have a hail, there's hail on a roof, depending on the company of the insurance, they'll try to argue with you. And so we're there to help. And I'll meet the insurance guy with you because if you have, such hail, wind, or any damage that I can help you with, I will. I don't call it, we're not storm chasers as they come. We got a giant hailstorm, we're influx with all these random roofers that come in and try to take care of stuff. But
mhm,
I'll also educate people, like especially on shingle roof, and go, I don't think you're going to get a claim. And I don't want you to call and start a claim and your rates go up just because the insurance came out here and said no. So if I think there's no, and I've been surprised, but if I think there's no way it's going to happen, I'll ask you, who's your insurance? And based on my years of doing this, I know how most of them act. And it's like, you know what? They're going to call it age. They're going to call it depreciation. They're not going to say it's hail. Even if there's hail, they're going to say, look how old it is. And so that's a lot of people. A lot of people, they don't roof until they think the insurance will take care of it next hailstorm. But that way of thinking is gone because you meet so many people here in New Mexico that are like, well, next time it hails, I'll get a free roof. And it's like, not anymore.
mhm,
Insurances have changed so much about how they are and how they, they're tightening their belt because, like you said, they're now State Farm, I think, is just now starting to pay out claims back east for the hurricanes and flooding out there. So, like you said, everybody is affected by everything that happens throughout the whole country. It's not just this isolated New Mexico bubble of, what happens in our weather and insurance. But again, it's educating people on the circumstances they're in because every house, every roof is different.
yeah, absolutely. So, is there anything in the next 5 to 10 years, any exciting thoughts or plans for continuing to grow your business?
Just keep moving forward. Just, bring on good people, keep selling the way we can. Keep meeting wonderful homeowners and putting good roofs on for them. We don't like the repeat work. We want your neighbor, your cousin, your family member. And so we just do the best we can to give you the best roof possible. And we'll just keep bringing on new people and grow as the technology grows because it has changed drastically since I started it. When I was a kid in high school, it's changed and evolved since then. And so growing with the industry as it starts to grow and just getting more involved and just bringing on the right people for the job to help continue this environment. I never want to get too big to where we lose the core values we have. And I've seen several companies get too big and too corporate, and that might work financially. You might love it financially and the money and the return there, but it's hard when you have such a big company to keep that core value of who you are and what you want. So it's going to be a balancing act of how many crews to bring on to continue to be who we are.
I think that's
And so that's
awesome.
what, yeah, that's what I'm going to aspire to, is to continue to be who we are when we started.
Yeah. You had mentioned changes in technology, and some of this is, I know that one of my neighbors, in fact, the lady across the street, had said that her insurance company had flown a drone
Mm-hmm.
over her roof because she'd been in that house for 20 years and had never put a roof on. And now
Mm-hmm.
they're threatening to not even
Yep.
cover her because she's not dealing with it. So I know she was one of the ones that were out there
Yeah.
talking to your guys. Um, and I also met a gentleman who reached out to me through LinkedIn who does, I can't remember what it's called, thermo something, but he has, like a machine that they go out and they'll see where heat's escaping through your roof.
Oh wow.
So he was looking for like referrals to property managers,
Oh yeah.
so that he could, get his business in by going out and inspecting properties like apartment complexes and that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Are either of those technologies that you're seeing for your business or other roofing businesses?
Oh, there are some companies that'll utilize drones to measure roofs and stuff like that that I'm aware of, but I'm old school, get up with a pen and paper, draw out the house, measure it myself. There are several good programs online where you can go and type in an address, pay, $100, and they'll give you all the measurements. But I old school pen, paper, measuring tape, get up on the roof, measure it myself, look at it, because you don't see everything on the roof, or you don't feel the decking if it's soft. And I can't warn you the decking is soft if I don't feel it and stuff. So there are a lot of technologies that a lot of companies are utilizing. It's not that I'm not wanting to go that direction. I know what works tried and true. If I'm going to like a giant commercial building, I might order a drawing and then just verify the numbers. That way you're not there for a day and a half type thing. But like the drone stuff, um, measuring by drone and photos and all that stuff, I just kind of leave that alone. I like my old school method of getting up on the roof and looking at it with my own eyes.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what it's like. You don't know, again, I could go to your house, fly a drone, or paid for this measurement program and come to the door and go, $20,000 and this will take care of your roof. Or I can come knock on the door and go, ma'am, you don't need a roof. Your stucco's bad or your window's leaking. And so again, the greatest part of my job is meeting. And so if you're just in there, you're in and out, got these numbers online, this is what it's gonna cost you, and you're like on to the next one. You're not building that relationship, you're not building that connection. You're spending a lot of money. People want to know who you are and get that gauge of who you are as a person and how it's gonna go. It's not easy relinquishing, especially now with financial times the way they are, any amount of money. We're not just the pull into Jiffy Lube and get a quick oil change. We're putting a roof on your home. It's
Hmm.
huge. It's got to protect you. And you have to feel comfortable with who's putting it on, what they're going to put on it, and what kind of warranty and service they're going to provide.
Yeah, I agree. That's great. And that's, again, that goes to a lot of advances in technology, even with
Mm-hmm.
AI. I mean, people
Oh yeah.
really need to know that you cannot trust 100% in technology,
Mm-hmm.
um, because it's going to need a human on the other end of that
Mm-hmm.
to double check, to evaluate, to consider. It's like a machine driving a truck. They're
Mm-hmm.
really trying to get away or trying to provide these trucks that are self-driven, or you see these ones where people are, commercial people taking their hands off the wheel. That will never happen when I'm driving. Like, I don't even use cruise control. It's not that I don't
No.
trust the technology,
Yeah.
but I like to be in control,
Mm-hmm.
especially of this machine that's
Mm-hmm.
big and powerful and can kill people. Like,
Exactly.
and like you said, if you're not up there and you're not seeing where there's a soft spot,
Yeah.
um, and then you do get up there and roof and you're having to replace decking or, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and that wasn't in your quote because
Mhm.
you hadn't, well, I mean, there's just so many other parts of it. So
That's a lot.
um, it's great. I'm glad that, and I'm sure there's lots of businesses that are that way, like truly
Yeah.
just needs old school is the best way to
Mhm.
go.
There's a lot of great technology out there and it works for so many people. And I'm not against, people using technology. It's just I know what works for us. And I'm going to continue to use what works for us and gives me the best advantage I can. And again, it comes down to like you can't just see everything off pictures, or you can't, how you gonna feel the roof, or how you gonna know if it's not the roof and it's something else that's causing an issue. So I know what works and I'm gonna stick to it.
Wonderful. So we'll get to the last question. Do you have tips and suggestions for homeowners on what they should be keeping an eye out for, whether it's after a big storm or just, they're up there closing up their air conditioner or opening up
Yeah.
their air conditioner? What kind of suggestions do you have for homeowners?
I always tell people, especially when you have the swamp cooler and you go up twice a year, take a small gallon bucket of tar up there with you and a little trowel. So when you turn on the swamp cooler, turn off the swamp cooler, look around, check your pipes to make sure that they still have plenty of tar. Look over at your canale. If your canale needs some work so that your flat roof's draining properly, put some tar on the corners. Just give it a good walk. It's hot. So you don't want to, you don't want to run up there and be on your roof too long when you're setting it up, or it's getting cool and you don't want to be up there too long. But walk the roof. Just take a quick lap. You're already up there. If you have any problems, I've even had people are like, I took a picture. I'm like, send me the picture. Let me see what you're looking at. And it's like, okay, we can take care of that. So just walk around the roof, see if you see anything, any shingles missing. If you're on a metal roof, be careful because they're slick. But are there screws that are kind of like backed their way up, or the screws that look like they're missing? So whether it's flat or pitched, just walk it around. If something just doesn't look right, just give us a call. It's free for us to come out and look at it, but just be vigilant when you're up there. And let's say you don't have a swamp cooler, just try to go up once or twice a year just to keep an eye on if you see shingles missing again, shingles torn, or screws missing on a metal roof, or on the flat roof if the pipe needs some tar, skylight around it might need some tar, anything like that. And then call somebody and have it looked at. If you're not too sure if this is or isn't a problem, then just give us a call or give someone a call and have them look at it.
Great suggestions. Us in our New Mexico sun, we have so much of it throughout the
Yeah.
year. Um, even just having things in my flower bed, I can see the deterioration in just
Hmm.
1 year
Oh yeah.
from the wind, the rain, and the sun. And you think about year after year after year, your roof is up there taking this
Hmm.
brutal heat, the crazy winds.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, you got to kind of keep an eye on those things. So thank you. Those were all
Yeah.
great suggestions. Thank you, Lucas, for sharing your insight and your experience. It's inspiring to see how you're not only building roofs, but you're building trust and integrity within our community.
Thank you. It's big. It's everything. It means everything to us.
It absolutely is. Where can our listeners find you?
So our website is lnbnm.com. And so you can go on there, see some pictures of what we've done, some information about who we are, and that has all of our phone numbers or contact information on there. And we'd be glad to come look at your house.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And
Absolutely.
to
Thank you.
our listeners, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Happiness on Tap podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave us a review. Definitely reach out to Lucas if you need a roof or somebody else. Um, they're a great company. I highly recommend them. They did a great job for us, great group of guys. And until next time, keep your happiness on tap.